this is the point I'm trying to get across as I'm getting distracted this entire time, that not only I wouldn't say that comparison is the thief of joy. For me, I feel like distraction is the thief of joy. What is going on? How is everybody doing today? Welcome to another episode of the Risen Fallen Podcast. I am your host, Mark Hendrickson. If you're brand new to this show, then what you can expect is open and authentic conversations about things like mental health, self-development, and how to get your life moving in the right direction. If you're not feeling good about where you are right now, at least having the confidence knowing that you're going in the right direction, stepping in the right direction to who you'd like to be, the life you'd like to lead, and what you'd like to do with it. And so on that note, happy Monday morning. Hope that you guys are doing really well. I'm doing pretty well today. It is, starting to feel like summer. We had some hot days recently, and it's creeping into, it's creeping into June. We're rocking and rolling. We are creeping on into June. So it is, like I said, it's a summer. It feels like the beginning of summer. It's a summery episode. And so I hope that you're feeling summery today. And I want to maybe give you a little podcast episode to give you something to think about, give you something to mull over. And it's something that I started thinking about recently. I listened to the new Cameron Hanes book, Undeniable, which was undeniably good, and I really enjoyed it. I'm sorry for that one; that was fucking annoying. But I really enjoyed the new Cameron Hanes book, Undeniable, and one of the things that he focuses a lot on is fears and also distractions. And fears, something that we all deal with. It's something that we all have to regulate and overcome, and that's something in and of itself. But I want to talk more about distractions today, because in the audiobook he talks a little bit. He even quotes the quote that I've quoted on this podcast often, which is comparison is the thief of joy. It's a Teddy Roosevelt quote, I think it is. And I've always loved that quote. I've always realized that comparison is the thief of joy, especially with a lot of us. What we do, we go on social media, we look at other people's lives, we look at other people's things, we look at other people's achievements, their accomplishments, the things that they talk about are achievements and accomplishments, because sometimes they're not even true. But we look online and we compare ourselves to other people. And I mean, that's it's been happening before we even had smartphones, social media, and things like that, because there's always been the phrase of like keeping up with the Joneses and talking about how we've always kind of based our values based upon, what we have in comparison to the people around us, because what we have, it's kind of a way to understand where you're at relative to other people and relative to the rest of society. And it kind of, it does have its benefits in that obviously it can motivate you if you see other people and they have more things than you, or they have things that are necessary that you don't have, and you see how that's changed their lives in a positive way. You go, fuck, I really wish that I had that. I really wish, and it could actually motivate you to get, in a better position in life. But obviously, the cliche quote wouldn't be a cliche quote if it wasn't true. Comparison is the thief of joy, because you can have everything you need that all in all could satisfy everything you desire. And everything could be going good. Your relationship could be going good. Your job could be going good. You have you got a place, a roof over your head, some food in the fridge. Everything's all good until you see somebody that has a little bit more than you, something a little bit better, something that one of your things breaks and you see theirs is in mint condition, and you go, fuck, why don't I have that? Why don't I have this? Why don't I have that? Hold on. Coffee sip 1 second. And that's one of the struggles about doing a podcast by yourself is you have to excuse your sips because there's no one to talk over the void there. And I wish maybe I was better at sipping or better at timing it, but I'm not going to compare myself to other people right now. I'm just going to sip my coffee and keep going. That's what we do here. It's fun. And yeah, so almost had another sip there, but so there's there's this idea. Comparison is the thief of joy. And it's always been an accurate quote because it's relevant to all of our lives. So whether you have social media or you don't, you claim you're not addicted to your phone, or you understand that you are. We've always had this kind of thing in society, the keeping up with the Joneses, etc. But one of the things I wanted, it kind of struck me as I was listening to, like I said, audiobooks and just kind of driving around and mulling over my thoughts because that's when I think best. And it really got me thinking. And that was, and actually that's a perfect example of what I'm about to talk about, because how many times have you had kind of like something going on? I know a lot of men are like this. I don't know if women really relate to this, but I don't know if there are any of them listening. So, when you're driving and you're like pissed off, or you're, I don't know, sad, or you're agitated, or you're anxious, or whatever, and you just you don't put on music, or you don't put anything on, like no podcast, no audiobook, no music, no radio. You just drive in silence and you just kind of do your thinking. And sometimes it's just like ruminating of like, oh fuck, what if this happens? What if that happens? I wish this happened. I wish this didn't happen, whatever. But sometimes you get lost in these your own like philosophical kind of thinkings, and that's when I do some of my best thinking, is when I'm just driving in silence, like a fucking weird, I don't know, unmotivated serial killer, I guess. I don't like who drives in silence, but I just that's when I do my best thinking. And sometimes we kind of rob ourselves of those little moments, when you're sitting on the toilet, when you're sitting, I think being in the shower might be the last sanctimonious place like this, because it's one of the places people don't bring their phone. Well, I guess that's even ruined too, because I know people that do bring their phones in the shower, and fuck, I've done it before too. If I'm listening to like a podcast or something, I'm like, I'm just going to throw it right on the spot that doesn't get wet and crank the volume up a bit. But we rob ourselves so much. This is the point I'm trying to get across, as I'm getting distracted this entire time, that not only I wouldn't say that comparison is the thief of joy. That has always been like one of the truest statements. But I always have, this inkling that there's something missing from it. And I realized this week as I was listening to this audiobook, that it's more, for me, I feel like distraction is the thief of joy. Because, when we're talking about obviously comparing, this idea of distraction can be literally anything. Distraction is probably the root cause of any issue that you have in life. Like, do you have issues in your relationship? It's probably because you're distracted. You're not actually doing the things that you need to do, or thinking about doing the things that you need to do to make your relationship better. You're probably distracted, whether that's obviously, it's fuck it. You don't even have to go into examples on that. Men getting distracted has probably been the root cause of fucking probably like 99% of divorces. And then the other cause is just the women go nuts. But, it's, men get distracted in relationships. They ruin that. Men get distracted or people, I should just say people, because people get distracted at work. And that ruins that. Their boss thinks of them differently. They think of themselves differently. They can't get their shit done. They get more anxious. They get more stressed. They start thinking that they're being too much is being demanded of them. When it comes to, just think about even just like the thought of like when you wake up on like a weekend, a Saturday or a Sunday or whatever, and you just kind of like, okay, you have your plan. You're like, okay, I'm going to stay buckled in. I'm going to stay dialed in this weekend. I'm going to get my workout in first thing. I'm going to do some reading. I'm going to do some journaling. I'm going to do some, self-discovery. I'm going to do all this and that and all these things. And you wake up and you grab your phone, you sit on the toilet, you start scrolling through reels and memes and whatever, and then you just kind of fucking, okay, you maybe sit there for 15 more minutes than you need to on the toilet, and then you get up and then you do whatever you need to do. And you just kind of dawdle around. You're just kind of like, I don't know, fucking going on social media, watching videos, online shopping, do a little bit of this, do a little of that, check some stocks, check some of the weather, check some of this, look at more memes, read some political stuff, and then all of a sudden it's been like 4, 5, 6 hours, and you're like, wow, where did the day go? And it's like, I thought this was my day off where I was actually just going to chill and rest and recover. And, what have I been doing? Oh, the same thing I do at work, just fucking scroll on my phone, and it's just kind of like, we always say like, oh, I don't have the time to do this. I don't have the time to do that. But it's how many hours, how many literally days of your life have you wasted just by being distracted on your phone? And ultimately, I'm not even just talking about like the time that we spend just sitting and scrolling on social media and doing pointless shit that we do, but how many times do you rob yourself of those moments of silence where, like I said, maybe you're driving home and you just have something going on in your life, you need to think about it. How many times do you drown out, like in mall, like there's literally no silent places ever now anywhere you go. It's like there's music blasting at malls, restaurants, everywhere you go. And the human condition has now literally been to get away from those moments of solitude, those moments of silence, those moments where you actually do have to reflect on those uncomfortable thoughts of boredom, of this, of that, depression, anxiety, stress. And when you rob yourself of the opportunity to think about these things, rationalize these things, plan a way out, those types of things, you consistently distract yourself with, music, podcasts, audiobooks, social media, online shopping, or everything that you can do, porn, like everything that you can do online. We're not only losing those moments where we're sitting and supposed to be paying attention to our parents at dinner time or our siblings that are talking about, whatever their job or their partner or whatever, and you're just like sitting there listening, and like, it's not only robbing you of those moments, it's not only just robbing you of the moments where you're supposed to be present with your kid at the park, but instead you got to scroll and look through reels about how to be a better parent. It's not only robbing you of those times where you're supposed to be working out and you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, I'm going to check my phone in between sets, and you end up just sitting there for 15 minutes hogging up the machine, and everybody at the gym is looking at you like, dude, stop filming your fucking workout. You're literally just filming yourself sitting there. It's not only robbing you of all those times and all that energy and all those lost, benefits from living in your phone instead of living in real life, but it's now robbing us of the times where we're supposed to be sitting on a bus bored, sitting waiting for a bus bored, sitting in traffic bored, sitting on the toilet bored. Those times where people have made most likely the greatest discoveries and greatest kind of conclusions in human being. Like, I think that probably 90%, and I know I'm throwing around a lot of fake statistics this episode, but I swear this one's probably true. Like 99% of every single great invention and thought that has ever happened in human existence has probably happened on the toilet or waiting for a bus or sitting in a doctor's office wondering why you've had to wait 65 minutes when you had an appointment. Or, those times when you're just supposed to be sitting in silence, bored out of your fucking mind, thinking about every single problem you've ever had. There's a reason that human beings have that innate reflex mentally. Like, there's a reason, and we have just robbed ourselves. And I'm not saying to just, sit in negative thoughts and think about all these things, but it is an essential part of the process to be bored and to understand that there's all these thoughts going on in your head and to have the ability to sort through them. That's why people talk about things like journaling and reading and meditating, because you're supposed to be just sitting there and analyzing your thoughts and thinking, okay, is this a legitimate problem? Is this something that I have to deal with today? Is this something that needs to be said? Is this something that needs to be done? Is this something that, I should ignore? Is this something that's, because then you can parse out what are the actual issues here? What are the actual problems in my life? And how can I start to get past them? But instead, a lot of us, and I'm guilty of it just like everybody else, sitting in my truck and I don't want to think about my fucking problems. I want to throw on a funny comedy podcast or throw on a history podcast or an audiobook and be distracted by some story or be distracted by some like history lesson or, something interesting or cool. But really, I think that we would all benefit from a little bit of quiet time and a little bit of, reflection of thinking about, are these, like I said, thinking about things like, are these legitimate things to be stressed about? Because a lot of the things that we do stress about, it's like, yeah, I probably, there's the idea of like control you can control. But yeah, I know. I don't know. I was just going to say, I just think that, we live in a world ripe with distraction, probably more ripe than ever, because there's a way to be distracted in every area of your life in your hand right now. Like I said, distraction from your relationship, distraction from your sleep, distraction from your work, distraction from, every goal you've ever had. Because there's a million and one things that are just an addictive hobby right now, or and just kind of thinking about realizing what sorts of things are distractions, what sorts of things are allowing you to escape from your own mind. As a teenager, I remember that was like literally one of my main issues was I never had the ability I never developed that skill of being able to just be alone with my thoughts. I always had to, call up a friend or talk to a friend or, hang out with somebody. I always was kind of like the person that wanted to be the last person at the party. Like once the music turned off and the lights came back on, people were kind of like heading home. I was always like, I think we can party a little bit longer. I think we can just keep this thing going because I just didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. And if I was listening to music, watching shows, doing things. Like I was always trying to fill that void. And I think that's one of the biggest things that held me back from kind of developing, like I said, developing those types of skills was I just wanted to avoid doing that. And it held me back from developing my own kind of sense of being able to parse out the significant from the insignificant thoughts that can sit and dwell in the back of your head because it's easy, it's easy to just drone them out when you could actually, like I said, analyze them and think like, okay, this is something that I should be legitimately stressed and worried about or something that I need to actually start to work towards or whatever it is, rather, than just some stupid gossip or some stupid thing that isn't going to be important in a few days or a few weeks or a few months or whatever. And so on that note, I think that's a beautiful place to wrap this up. And I think that's where I am going to wrap this up. So happy Monday. If you're listening to this when it drops, if you like this episode, if you feel like this is something that you needed to hear or you feel like a friend needs to hear or whatever, please do share the show. It really does help me out. If you're watching this on YouTube or whatever, just comment, like, subscribe, do everything you can to help your boy. And if you listen to the podcast version, leave a little review and rate it 5 stars. It really does help out. I think that's it. Much love. Peace out. See you next Monday. Bye.